Ciao ragazzi, it's good to be back so soon. Did not think I was going to be back this soon, but Bruno, how long did our draw with Napoli actually stay in the Inter headlines, man? Because I could have sworn in the 3.5 minutes it took for me to get from this room to go to the bathroom, to get in the car and get onto the freeway to go to work. What game? What game? So guys, if you are tuning in, welcome to Inter Worldwide. My name is Anthony. This ain't my forte. This is Bruno. Not only is he better looking, he's also got a bigger brain. So he's going to help us sort of come to terms with what the hell's going on with the entire European Super League movement. So before I get into the technicalities as to what I think's going on, and big up to the 4 people who just joined on the spot, smash a like. Bruno, big man, thanks for joining me again, my brother. It's always good to see you. Oh, before you even start, congratulations on the birth of your second child. My brother, big up, Bruno. Nothing really matters to him. Look at his smile. Super League, Napoli. What? I can produce 2 kids. What can you do to me, world?
Look, it allowed me to watch unprecedented amounts of football over the weekend because she kept me up all weekend. So it was good. But even the news of even the arrival of my child's news has been overthrown by what is known as the European Super League. I'm not sure. Did you want me to go straight into it?
Bro, before you go straight into it, because you could go on for ages about it properly, I'll voice some of my initial feelings and my reaction to it. So when I saw it this morning, I thought to myself, there's a few different things that could be going on here. One, this is legit, and it could be because it's been in the works since the 90s. There were a couple of major shifts in the mid-90s and one in the early 2000s as well, but nothing to the magnitude of this. No sort of power flex like this. So option 2 makes me believe that because of the ongoing discrepancies between UEFA and certain clubs, FIFA and certain clubs, the revenues that can't be declared in full, the financial fair play impositions, this could very much be a power flex from your biggest teams to go, you change your guidelines or we piss off and dog your competition completely. So that was my second feeling. My third feeling was, I don't care, I'm done with football anyway. Just give me my 19th Scudetto so I can die in peace. And my fourth thought was, if worst does come to worst, at least we're going along with the winners table. And then I just started doing the whole Agnelli is Hitler version 2 conspiracy theory in my head, which I vocalized pretty clearly on social media. But the only good thing I'll take from this, Bruno, is that Inter was dicked pretty hard by UEFA when it came to financial fair play, a lot harder than most other clubs were. We had to go with our punishment in full effect. A certain other club from Milan didn't have to go to full effect.
PSG,
certain other clubs in the world didn't have anything.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, bro, it is what it is. Money talks, bullshit walks. It's 2021. This is also a nice test for us football fans to give us a pre-warning that whether we like it or not, this game is going to change. It might not be tomorrow. It might not be next season. We might be able to delay this inevitable for a bit longer, but it's coming, bro. That's all I've really got to say.
Okay. Well, look, there's a couple of things to take out of this. So let's just break it down to begin with. The European Super League. It is another competition, so it will be played in lieu of the Champions League. The European Super League consists of 20 teams, 15 founding members. So from Italy, it's Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter Milan. From Spain, it's Real
Go
Barca.
slower.
Okay, so it will consist of 20 teams, 15 founding teams. So Italy, it is Inter, Juve, and AC. Spain, it's the Real, Barca, and Atletico. In England, I believe it is the Big Six. Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, and Manchester United, Manchester City. So 6, 9, 12. That's 12. So there's room for 3 more founding members. So basically the whole establishment of it is they want the best of the best. And then so the 15 founding members cannot be kicked out of this competition. They will be there every year. And then the remaining 5 come in. So if you win the Scudetto and you're not one of the big 3 in Italy or something along those lines, you come in to the competition, and each year your positions reevaluate. So approximately, I would say it would have been just after the Juventus fixture. So at around 1:30 a.m. Australian time, it was announced by the Premier League teams that they will be joining this competition. And it was actually announced mid-Manchester United fixture. So that was interesting on its own. So they announced it when games were going on, and it was just thrown out there. And there and then, the talk had stopped about the Burnley-Manchester United game, and it was focused on this competition. And then Inter came out with an announcement, Real Madrid and so forth. All the teams started announcing they will be partaking in this. So it clearly was staged. Now, what people need to realize are 2 things. So Monday in Europe, so approximately 12 to 24 hours from now, UEFA will be announcing their new format for the Champions League, which will take place from the year 2024. Now, the big 12 clubs that have announced they're leaving the competition are basically turning around and saying, you do what we're asking, or your competition becomes redundant, right? Because like many joked about today, pot 1 will consist of Leicester, Roma, Sevilla and Lille, and pot 2, 3, and 4 will, Athens will be pot 2 for some reason, So the competition will be made redundant. So I personally feel this is some sort of power move to go, all right, well, let's consistently keep these big teams in this competition because this is what's going to drive revenue, and force UEFA to make a move. Now, UEFA's come out and said they have stopped, they have postponed indefinitely the Champions League and Europa League from this moment on.
Was that official, right? Or because I saw some journalists afterwards saying it wasn't? It was real weird day today. You didn't know who to trust.
So basically, they've come out and they've said this is what's going to happen, and basically they should reinstate the Champions League prior to the next round of fixtures. But if you look at it, out of all the teams left in the Champions League at the moment, if they were to ban them, PSG become champions. There's no one else to compete against them. They're the only ones who aren't part of the founding members. So that's the initial factor. But there's a couple of... So that is the facts. And other facts are the president of this competition is Perez, who is the owner of Real Madrid. And then you have the vice presidents in Joel Glazer, I believe, from Manchester United, and Agnelli from Juventus. So already you can tell it's not going to work. Now, and I'm being genuine here. Because if you're the owner of a club and you're a president of a competition, you're going to do everything to favor your club's best interests. Yeah. Now, if the idea of it all is if UEFA take the reins and control this, then it becomes a lot better. Now, the issue is the English teams have to actually apply to compete in another competition. Now, you've got to move away from Italy at the moment. You look at England, you've got the Carabao Cup, the Community Shield, the FA Cup, the Premier League, Europa League, the Champions League, right? That's 6 competitions happening all at once. Now, this is a massive scheduling issue at the moment there. So you've got the big six who are flexing. Now, you take the big three out of Italy, you've still got quite a competitive spectrum. You've got Napoli, Roma, Lazio, Atalanta at the moment. At the moment, it is still quite competitive. But you take the big six out of England, you've got a couple of issues. Now, our Biggie there did mention that it's got Agnelli CEO. Yeah, the announcement came perfect in line with what's happening. Inter
at Juventus, basically, in general.
Yeah, at Juventus in general, take the limelight off them. But one of the biggest factors that you can take away from this is $3.5 billion. Now, $3.5 billion is the projected revenue that the competition will make in its first year between TV deals, sponsorships, etc. Now, if you divide if you divide that into 20 teams, so if this competition is to go ahead and that $3.5 billion is divided evenly amongst the 20 teams, each team will receive approximately 150 million. Now, Inter finished fourth in their group and they left with 40 million, I think it was, from the Champions League this year, roughly. Right? Bayern Munich won it last year and walked away with 80 million. Now, you get 150 million for just participating. I feel that if these numbers, and when you're creating something like this, you can't come to the table and, pardon my French, with bullshit, right? You need to come with cold hard facts, because you're not just taking on the FIGC or the EPO. You're taking on FIFA. You're taking on UEFA. You need to have cold hard numbers. Now, if they've come up with the number 3.5 billion, clearly they've pulled that figure from somewhere. They've done their statistical analysis in the background and so forth. So the question is now, one, how is UEFA going to react? So this obviously, well, I'm making the assumption now, this has obviously happened within 24 to 48 hours prior to UEFA's expected announcement of a revamped competition in 3 years.
Yeah, right? And that revamped competition is supposed to add more teams to it, right? From what? Because it's 32, 8 more teams.
Yeah, add more teams and reduce revenues, right? Whereas the idea of this competition is to basically cement the best of the best every year. Now, as an Inter fan, how good would it be to say Inter, AC, and Juventus in the Champions League next year?
Yeah, right? when they earn it. When they earn it,
right? Now, the idea behind this is to have these teams fixed, right? Now, the big six in England, they deserve to be in the Champions League every single year. They're
Champions League teams. They're competitive. They're Champions League teams. Regardless of if they finish second or sixth, you can almost guarantee that team finishing sixth in England is probably going to have a good shot at the round of 16.
Exactly. Now, you look at this. Now, you take that away from all of this. Now, if UEFA come in and say, look, first thing, if I'm the head of UEFA, the first thing I'll be saying is, where did you get 3.5 billion? Teach us, please.
Yeah.
Right? Because rather than be selfish and help each and feed UEFA and FIFA, learn. Because clearly something's not happening here. Clearly they've found a loophole. Clearly they found, and I spoke to someone today, and they had the argument that, well, clearly these numbers are going to be really big, and you're going to be bringing $3.5 billion because you're going to have everyone's going to be tuning in to see Tottenham versus Inter, Juventus versus Barcelona, Manchester United versus AC Milan, week in and week out.
So
Well, that's the
fucking
whole.
boring if it happens week in, week out. It takes all the glitz and glamour away from these fixtures.
But that is the Champions League as we know it. Except
Mm.
we'll be seeing potentially, Juventus take. Well, let's take Italy out of the question, right? Barcelona's week 1 fixture is against Lokomotiv Moscow. Now, what type of revenue is that going to draw? Viewership wise.
Yeah, right? I know, and that's the whole point. It's revenue. But for us fans, we don't care about revenue. We like the grind of what it was, that competition.
We like the grind, but I feel like this is virtually essentially a power move to generate more income, to allow
get
for
more
these
kickbacks.
teams
Get more kickbacks from UEFA, right? Then they need more money from UEFA for participating.
Because UEFA's come out and said there could be bans on international performances and so forth and all of that. So we can rule out any top team qualifying, winning. I'll put my money on Greece. Oh, no, Manolas. Yeah, I'll put my money on Greece winning Euros in a couple of months if this is the issue.
Like they'll just fluke it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, bro, what I was going to say is it's raised the question of whether or not teams will still be allowed to compete in their domestic league. Now, that's a stupid question to me because I can tell you right now, as someone who doesn't know too much about Italian economics and revenue, it's already 100 times worse at the moment that there aren't fans in the stadium. You take away those 3 clubs in Italy and schedule Lecce versus Bologna as your Saturday night game, the league will last approximately 4 match days, bro, in my opinion, and there will be no Liga Serie A after that.
We're talking from the perspective of international viewers. I don't feel the fans in Italy will allow these teams to leave because you take out AC, Inter, and Juventus. Surely that's more than 50% of your fan base gone. That's more than 50% of your viewership gone. Sponsors lose their value because you're not getting anything, right? This is more of a flex against financial fair play rules. So teams have been restricted. Now, Inter, everyone's saying Inter haven't been competitive for so long. Well, we had Fahey come in and screw us for 3 or 4 seasons. And then Spalletti's first year in Champions League, we were restricted to a nobody team because we couldn't do anything about it. Now, if we're getting 150 million euros to compete in a competition, right? And look, as you can see, all the comments below, they're dropping different numbers, right? Nothing's set in stone at the moment. I'm going off the first report I saw, 3.5 billion, right? But there's 6 billion. They're saying 300 million per team. Blah blah blah. Let's just go off the one number at the moment. But you get these teams making this sort of money. They're getting the best players. They're fluctuating. They're flexing their team because their revenues in. They've got so much more flexibility in regards to financial fair play. Now, what the question that begs to be asked is, UEFA should not be focusing on repercussions, right? Because clearly it's not going to work. And if you can go down to Indrohari 1908, FFP is only good in theory. That comment there, right? When Anthony gets a chance to go down to it. 2 comments down from the current one we're on. Now, exactly, it's only good in theory. Right? It's good for the teams, mediocre teams. But for the teams like the best, the biggest and the best, they need to wow their teammates. Right? Now, if you're kicked all these teams to a different league, what's going to happen to all the best players? Right? All the best players are going to leave their domestic leagues to compete in this big league. And what's going to happen to these domestic leagues? Serie A's just turned into Serie C. Right? Spain is non-existent, to be honest. because you've got to assume Sevilla would be one of the participation teams. So after that, you've got Villarreal versus Getafe as your primetime fixture, right? And the Premier League turns into a championship fixture. So the question begs to be asked, not let's ban players, we'll get to that. I'll let Ant cover that one there, Biggie. But let's move away from UEFA should move away from let's ban these players, let's kick these players out, let's enforce all these bullshit repercussions on all these teams, and let's communicate, right? Because those 12 founding teams that are listed at the moment, those current 12 teams probably could comprise of, I'd say, a good 75 to 80% of the voice in Champions League. And another majority would be Bayern Munich, who have already come out and said they're not partaking in this, right? So rather than ban and all of that shit, communicate, have a round table discussion with these people, right, and presidents and teams, and find out what they really want. Because it's not like Inter to come out and support something like this if they didn't feel it was going to benefit them and the club. Because at the end of the day, the club is a business and the business needs to make money. And right now, with no fans and these massive wage bills, we've got to make money somehow. So let's have that conversation. And one of the things I've been looking for all day is De Laurentiis. I want to see what he has to say about all of this, because he's a big voice and he's been left out of the big boys club. He's sitting on the sidelines, and there's a lot of people.
We all know how much he likes to sit on the sidelines, bro.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people who are missing who are outside of this big boys club that I probably want to try, and a lot of them are going to want to try and get in. But I've done enough talking. My mouth's going dry. And cool. What do you think after with all of that being said? What do you think?
With all of that being said, I'm looking forward to Conte signing Lewandowski and playing him left wing back in a 3-5-2. Yeah, good timing, right as he took a sip, cuz. Imagine that. Imagine Lewandowski tracking back onto a right striker, bro. Only in Conte, cuz he'll probably play the through ball to Lukaku to score the goal. You never know.
100%.
All jokes aside, it's everything that you said and more, because if it is a flex, then it just creates that little gap for the strong teams that are looking to be stronger. They will get stronger. So almost in a way, what we're saying is that the Champions League could start to reflect the format of the Super League without actually a Super League being formed, because this power flex would allow these strong powers in football to get stronger and therefore continue their stranglehold financially, domestically, and keep them competing on an intercontinental level. At the end of the day, these people who are making these decisions, your Perez's, Agnelli's, they've been in the footballing world for a long time. They know the fallout of changing something as spectacular as the European competition, as the Champions League. So if what you're saying is true, then yeah, it's just the best looking poker bluff we've seen in football for a long time. And it probably will pay off for them one way or another. Hopefully it doesn't impact Inter on a domestic level, and we can continue our domestic seasons the same way that we normally would. Antonio Conte, Giuseppe Marotta, and Steven Zhang, and of course Il Capitano, don't strike me as 4 people that are going to go to a couple of meetings while we're fighting for a Scudetto, and then all of our Scudetto credentials go to shit and the hard work is wiped out. I can't see that happening in any world, bro. So what do you think? Is anything going to happen to this season domestically, or we're like 7 games away in every league in the world? That'll just finish as normal.
Look, unless you have a big uproar from any of the big 6 across anything is winning the respective leagues. Right. I still would, to be honest.
You would, yeah.
Now,
And then you talk about the fucking balance on the pitch as well.
look, you need to have your nationality representing your team at the moment, and Gagliardini is just a number on the field. But look, I feel that you look at domestically across the board, first, second, and third in Spain is your current three founding members. First, second, and fourth in Italy are your current three founding members. First, second, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, I think, are your current founding members in England, right? So you do anything and, piss these teams off by stripping them of a title. And West Brom gets a title in England, and Atalanta get a title in Italy, and Sevilla get a title in Spain. You're just going to be poking at the wasp nest. So I like that comment there. I feel like
it's a good one, bro. It's an engaging one.
And develop into exactly the same format that we see the UCL in as now. So there's been very, very limited information provided about what the format will be of this competition. But from what has been stated, there will be two pots, Pot A and Pot B, each comprising of 10 teams. And it will sort of be like current World Cup qualifying and so forth, where each team will have a home and away game against each team in their pot. The top four will progress to the next stage of knockouts and of each. So that's top 8 teams, 4 games. And then I think there's I don't know the exact logistics of it, but that's how it was put forward. Will it work? Who knows? But will it be interesting? 100%. The question is selection. And look, my overall idea of it all is exactly what you opened with, exactly what I've mentioned earlier. This is a big flex to get UEFA to bend and to show that, Europe are not a bunch of teams who are going to get walked all over. Now, imagine a team like Boca Juniors joining this competition, right?
Yeah.
Boca Juniors facing Manchester United. Young boys.
But they wouldn't be allowed to, because that would be intercontinental. Or they would make their own rules, though. These people would be in charge of the rules. They would just legislate the competition any way they want. 5
invitational spots. Now, I don't know if anyone follows the Copa America here.
That's right.
Australia's not a part of the Americas, and we still compete in the Copa America as an invitational guest.
Did they even modify the traditional Copa America to do that, or do they hold 2 Copas now in the 1 year?
No, it's the one.
It's one. They legitimately modified that massive traditional historical tournament and started inviting. It's bizarre, bro.
Outside of it's like Europe inviting New Zealand to participate in the Euros. We all know. They're extending an olive branch, but when Australia's up against Chile, Brazil, Argentina, it's just a training match for them. But look, there are 5 invitational spots. There is very limited information. I'll get you to run with it for a second, because I'm just going to pull up Inter's announcement. Because they did post an announcement. So I'll read that out, but you go with it for a bit.
Go for it, bro. Let's run with a few comments in the meantime. But why Arsenal and Spurs can join the ESL still cannot find the reason except marketable. Exactly right, bro. That's the point. There is no hustle or grind to get to the Champions League. Oh, hi, Arsenal, who are sitting in 10th and haven't moved from 10th. Remember when you were really good under Arsene Wenger and you had Patrick Vieira, Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, Fred and Ljungberg. Here's an invitation to the tournament. Tottenham Hotspur, I don't know why the hell they would be anywhere near the tournament really as a big club, whatever, but I'm sure there's a few extra spots in there because of the likes of Bayern Munich, and I think PSG wouldn't be in there either. Is that what they said? They said that they'd refuse.
PSG weren't invited. It was only extended to Italy, Spain, England, Germany initially, but Bayern rejected. So once Bayern rejected it, sort of made the invitation to Dortmund redundant. But so this is the announcement Inter released. I believe it may have been prior to the game. So FC Internazionale Milano agreed to establish together with 11 of Europe's leading football clubs a new midweek competition, the Super League. So it's not the European Super League, as everyone's referring to it. Inter referred to it as the Super League. So that's where your Boca Juniors, your young boys and stuff can get involved as well. They then go into mentioning who all the teams are. It is anticipated that a further 3 clubs will join ahead in the inaugural season, which is intended to commence as soon as practicable. So as soon as possible, really. Going forward, the founding clubs look forward to holding discussions with UEFA and FIFA to work together in partnership to deliver the best outcomes for the new league and for football as a whole. The formation of the Super League comes at a time where a global pandemic has accelerated the instability of existing football economic model. Further, for a number of years, the founding clubs have had the objectives of improving the quality and intensity of existing European competition. Now, there's an argument for both sides of the fence there. Everyone's saying they're taking advantage of a pandemic, where some are saying, well, the pandemic's just highlighted the big issues there are now. Missed waged bills, no fans, where's the income coming from, and all of that stuff. They go on to say the pandemic has shown that a strategic view, blah, 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 blah. The founding clubs believe the solution proposed following these talks do not solve fundamental issues, and they still need to provide higher quality matches. The competition format. So this is what Inter have announced as the competition format. 20 participating clubs with 15 founding clubs. And further 5 teams to qualify annually. The founding 15 clubs cannot miss this competition. They cannot be relegated. They cannot not qualify for this competition. So for the 15 founding clubs, it's actually a constant revenue stream every single year, which is interesting. Midweek fixtures with all participating clubs continuing to compete in their respective national leagues, preserving the traditional domestic match calendar, which remains at the heart of every founding club's club game. And August start with 2 clubs, with clubs participating in 2 groups of 10. Like I mentioned, home and away fixtures. Teams finishing, top 3 teams qualify. Teams finishing 4th and 5th will then compete in a 2-leg playoff for the remaining quarterfinal positions. A 2-leg knockout format will then be used to reach the final at the end of May, which will be staged as a single fixture at a neutral venue. So it's unlike the current UEFA where, you know, let's say Torino is the host of the final and you find out at the beginning Juventus could be home team at the end of it. So interesting. I did not know that. So
about the RB Leipzig situation.
Yeah.
That is interesting, considering they're not a traditional club. They're legitimately a bought club in the last 6 or 7 seasons. So I don't necessarily see where why the fans would resist. Like, legit, it's right up their alley. If anything, they should really resonate with it.
So as you can see, they've clearly done a lot of work. And I did see that it was a 23-year deal. I did see that, but it was only confirmed by one source. But that announcement made by Inter, which I really did skim over, they will proceed to talk to, they will have a women's league as well to help develop the women's game, the annual tournament, economic growth, the European competition. So here we go. These solidarity payments are substantially higher. So there'll be solidarity payments paid. So they expect the they'll be substantially higher than those generated by the current UEFA competitions, and expected to be in excess of 10 billion euros during the course of the initial commitment period of the clubs, which I'm assuming is approximately the 23 years that I mentioned. So all the clubs literally released a similar statement in line with that. So that is probably something that, is virtually on the tip of everyone's tongues at the moment. So Juventus's loss, Man City's knockout, all of this stuff, all the fixtures that occurred over the weekend essentially have become null and void because of this news that's been dropped. Yes, Aquil, they will be played in lieu of current competition. So instead of us competing in Champions League, we'll be competing in the Super League. I'm not even going to refer to it as the ESL because Inter made quite a point to say it's called the Super League, and I think we know why. But so yeah, it will be in lieu. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means for the rest of the competition. And what do you think this will do to my question to you and to the people watching, what do you guys think will happen as this evolves? What do you think is probably the best outcome for Inter and for the league as a whole?
The best outcome is to just give us our goddamn motherfucking 19th Scudetto before anything, bro. Sorry for saying that, but that's the only thing that revved me up properly this morning was don't do anything to destabilize what we are working so hard to achieve this season. All jokes aside, of course, I still care what happens after that. I want this club to continue on the healthy trajectory, footballing-wise, on the pitch, technically, with our coach, with our director, with the same transfer policies, in the same direction, making the same liquidity we were making when the fans were packing out 66,000 people in the San Siro, 68,000 people in the San Siro. Every week it was not a competition. If Inter were playing at home, the most people were going to watch Inter. And that's what we need to get back to. And I feel like this sort of concept really gathers more momentum the longer we keep fans outside of the stadium. This is almost like a Netflix streaming service part of football that we're about to enter. It's very bad for the game. If this takes off in the way that it will, it has to keep certain traditions intact. This has to happen with fans. If this takes off without fans, big trouble, in my opinion. However, I do think we are about to get back to the phase of starting to let in 1,000, 3,000, 6,000 people across Europe. But whatever, that's a different conversation. I just want Inter to continue on the healthy path that they were under Suning, to be honest. Like I've said it, I don't want us to be sold. I never wanted us to be sold. Everything was going in such a positive direction. And then no matter what we do on the pitch, you can win 11 games in a row. And you still got to wake up to stuff like this and think, no matter what you do, it's such a destabilized industry at the moment. The most destabilized it's been since I've been alive, since I've been a football fan. Arsene Wenger was the one sort of prophet who started to foretell this sort of stuff. I don't know how close he used to pay attention to the way he used to talk, but I got a close friend that was an Arsenal fan, and he used to relay it to me and tell me and show me. I used to think he was crazy. There was one interview that he did after a game. He goes, we would probably get to the point where the fans start to generate the lineup. I'm like, what the hell, bro? This guy's on some different shit. Arsenal should sack him already. Man, that seems like a very realistic possibility within the next few years, the way football's going. A computer-generated world of football and athletes.
So if you look, I follow investment opportunities around the world, and if you look more recently, PSG, AC Milan, and Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, I believe, now all have their own fan-based cryptocurrency. just to throw more fireworks into the thing. Now, if you're buying cryptocurrency into a club, you're virtually buying shares into this club, which means you're going to have voting powers, etc. So exactly along the lines of what Arsene said, fans, it will be a Facebook poll. Who do you start this week? Simple as that. And the person with the most likes, everyone go vote for Vecino and Gagliardini because we're starting them this week.
That's how it'll be. It'll be as easy. It'll be as easy as that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because UEFA came out last week changing the away goal rule in extra time. So if your fixture goes to extra time, the away goal rule now becomes null and void. Well, clubs have been asking for that for a very long time. Now, if you look at Juventus, this season, Chelsea against PSG, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, you get to an extra time and then the team that's traveling scores a goal, you got to score 2, even though you've got it to where it is. So it's interesting. And it's also interesting to note that Bayern did reject the initial idea. Now, there's 2 reasons that they could have rejected this. And one being they're strongly against it, which I highly doubt. Because what company is against making money, especially a team like Bayern, which is 50+1, where a firm owns the team.
I think RB Leipzig is the 50+1, not Bayern.
I think Bayern is too. I think it's Allianz. Allianz own 50+1. Now I feel they're saying
the RB Leipzig are the ones that are not that don't use 50+1. My bad.
So they said no, they don't want to be a part of it. Now I feel that's just them not announcing that they are going to be until they see the repercussions of the rest of the competition announcing they're going to be a part of it. So the repercussions on Inter, Juventus, Milan, they want to see what's going to happen, right? Because then they'll turn around and say, well, we are a founding member, we've joined, so has BVB, so has, I would say, PSG and potentially Monaco. I don't know about the whole Monaco. I know the money is a factor on this. It's actually good to see Inter at the same table as Agnelli. It must be burning. It must be burning him. He has to.
It would have been like 6 to 8 months ago. There was this. It wasn't a big report, but it's not like they didn't hide it or anything. They had lunch together. And it was photographed and everything, and it came out. They did not hide it whatsoever that Agnelli and Steven Zhang dined together. And I thought to myself, I'm like, am I going crazy, or have I never seen a headline like that before? Have I never seen?
It would be nice to see
Agnelli.
It will be nice to see Agnelli across the table looking at Marotta in the eyes, and Marotta trying to look at Agnelli in the eyes. It's a dynamic that you would not see, but I think you hit the nail on the head. If you can afford to eat at this restaurant, Agnelli is more than happy for you to sit at his table. And at the end of the day, rivalries aside, if you're making money for this competition,
you're speaking his language, bro.
You're speaking his language. The only issue I have with this competition is, one, it's not UEFA recognized. So at the end of the day, this can impact a lot of things in regards to transfers, because transfers are UEFA regulated, and all of that stuff, competitions, etc. They're all UEFA regulated. So I feel that, and the fact that it's not UEFA regulated then moves into the second phase of things where it is owned and run by the owners of, I would say, the 3 biggest clubs in this competition, being Manchester United, Juventus, and Real Madrid, all boasting a great domestic history and all boasting owners who will do what's best for their club. And we've seen it time and time again, especially Perez as president. So, he is the Agnelli of Spain. He's a cross Agnelli De Laurentiis, to be honest. But I feel that that's the issue. But I think what everyone's missing, and I don't know if you'll agree, is the idea that the whole proposition of this competition is, I think it was 5% of all money is reinvested into the competition. The other 95% is given to the clubs. Whereas you look at your
on a scaling system of who finishes higher.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how the system works. Obviously, the logistics of it all hasn't been.
The more we talk about this, the more it's reassuring to me the thoughts that I had about UEFA being a real piece of shit organization that has really leached and mooched and taken way more that it's given back, cashed in on its TV rights on multiple different networks in multiple different channels over the world, and has just almost flat out refused to give anything back. How many years ago did Michel Platini get borderline criminal charges for his involvement? I don't know.
What do you mean borderline? I wouldn't call them borderline. I'd say they're
pretty bad, guys.
But look, let's look at it like this, right? Let's look at it like this, and you tell me. So these are figures that Calcio Finanza announced, right? So the finance of soccer for the four clubs who participated in the Champions League this year. So Juventus made 68.5 million euros. Lazio made 45.5 million euros. Atalanta made 40 million euros. And Inter made 37.8 million euros. Now, 3 out of those 4 clubs moved on to the round of 16. One of those clubs came dead last, being Inter. And the difference was 3 million between Inter, who came dead last in their group, and Atalanta, who made it to the round of 16 and played against Real Madrid. Now, the money is being displaced, and I feel that this is the big issue at the moment with the clubs and why they've come out and they've done this. If you're going to run a competition like this, they've already come out and said this is a competition run by the club. So the only idealistic thing to do is to feed the money back into the clubs, keep 5% to generate, funds for A, B, C, and D. 5% is a lot of money when you're looking at the spectrum of $3.5 billion. 5% is over 180 million, roughly, right? 160 million, whatever, right? 5% is massive money. Now, if they're keeping 5% and giving 95% back, I feel like that's what they're asking UEFA to do in their announcement, because I feel like the timings are very... Remember how we used to say Marotta was a mastermind when he would time his things? I feel like this is another thing that's happened, and by all means, not Marotta masterstroke. Don't get me wrong. This is a masterstroke by the clubs.
The 12 clubs involved, they can't lose this scenario whatsoever. This is win-win no matter what. For those 12 foundational clubs, they're drinking and sleeping easy tonight, cuz. So, as I said, if worst comes to worst, I am glad that we sit next to the devil at the dining table. But at the same time, you're going to see me start rocking. And I mean this with all my heart. You're going to see me start rocking my Catania jerseys a lot more, because I'm not going to forget where I came from as a football fan, bro. And if you do sit me at the table with if you do invent this competition and sit me at the table with these clubs, I will cherish the Italian league even more than I cherish that European competition. And I'll start to follow Catania even more, bro. And it's just, at the end of the day, it's a really tough one to explain. So
I just got to express to all the fans watching, because everyone seems to be running with speculation at the moment.
I was just going to say, before you do that, big up to the chat for, keeping each other going and discussing while Bruno and I have been doing our thing. We have not been able to address the comments, but you guys have been answering each other's questions, albeit with other questions, but it's all good. Keep doing what you're doing, and please like the video, boys.
Yeah, so look, guys, this is not a new competition. Inter will not be leaving the Serie A. they will be playing this competition in lieu of Champions League. So come the weekend, we'll still be seeing our Inter versus Spezia and Benevento. But come midweek, you're going to be seeing your Inter versus Barcelona's and Real Madrid. So, but there is a lot of information about this. This is destabilizing, but we saw how corrupt FIFA was. It makes me. You can't think that UEFA isn't just as bad. This is just maybe we need to shake the boat in order to.
What do you think the players? What do you think the players think about all this, bro? Because no one is talking about how the players would feel about it remotely.
Anthony,
some of these players grow up their whole life waiting to hear that Champions League theme song and to play in that tournament.
So Anthony, you play for Inter, right? And you play for AC. We'll say you play for AC Milan, right? You're excited. You're about to get this Champions League. You know, you've been a club like Inter for so long that struggled to get there. You finally do get there. Oh wait, we just signed a deal where we're guaranteed 150 million euros. What does that mean? Donnarumma's contract extension's about to come through, and he's gonna get. He wanted 7. We'll give you 10. Now sit the fuck down and stay with us, right? You know, Tonali's about to get money that he's never seen in his life. So as a player, I want to move to the teams, these founding clubs. I want to be a part of it because I am going to get whatever the fuck I asked for because they've got money flying in. So as a player, and I said it today, I'm sincerely worried about the clubs. And I'm not going to say the minnow clubs, but the clubs who aren't a part of this competition who have some fantastic players. The clubs to the likes of Lazio, clubs to the likes of Napoli, Roma, Sevilla, right, where they've got some fantastic players who Inter's just about to come around and say, here's my checkbook, write down what you want for the year. Here you go.
Yeah.
How are you going to keep your most loyal players? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, I get you, bro.
It is going to shake the boat, I think, too much. But overall, I think it's most probably just going to be UEFA bow down and give us what we want. Simple as that. It's like when companies go on strike, they threaten
if this outcome happens during a season where Inter shifts from pot 3 to pot 1, I can only see big positive things. But the thing is, bro, we're Interisti, bro. We don't do fucking handouts. We don't do charity. We are charity, bro. So it goes against what I traditionally know. I know 3-2 against Lazio after a De Vrij red card after he's already signed the contract with Inter. That's what I know. That's what I know. I know Empoli 2-1 after Keita Balde pulls the jersey down and we go on 3-1, but you have to replay the last minute and do a whole U-turn in your own house. That's what I know. I know how to get to places fighting tooth and nail for it.
I know star signings being Kuzmanovic and, you know, Nagatomo and Jonathan. I know Dani Osvaldo being the next best thing. So you know we are the team, and I feel teams like Inter and AC Milan, the fans are going to be very against this idea initially, especially with AC Milan, we've fought our fucking ass off to get to where we are now, and our owners have been in the background signing pieces of paper saying we're going to be guaranteed to be into this competition. Whereas you look at Spain, Atletico, Real and Barcelona, they're shoo-ins for the Champions League every single year. You know, and the same with England. You've got 6 great teams, only 4 qualify, except for a couple of years ago where you had almost every team qualify because Tottenham and Chelsea, you know, they were all in finals everywhere.
Yeah, Fair enough.
But yeah, Biggie made a good point there.
He did make a very good point there. Like everyone is corrupt to a certain extent there, bro. At the end of the day, is it even called corruption anymore if you have more money than the industry that you're in, or has everyone just sort of adapted their mentality a little bit? What was called corruption maybe a decade ago is now just called financial flexibility. I don't know, man. I'm not a business person. Why do you think I got Bruno on this video? I couldn't have done this by myself. Pazza Inter, bros. We will always be Pazza Inter. Always, always, every minute of every day. Football fans have to unite. 100%, man. I don't like Gary Neville as a pundit. He gets way too carried away emotionally. But for the first time in a while, he hit it on the head perfect today. And I was like, my guy, him and Carragher, because these are two legit blood boys from where they are. You can't take Manchester out of Gary Neville, and you can't take Merseyside out of Jamie Carragher. And for them to see their boyhood traditional clubs, who Liverpool and Manchester United are two clubs that literally pride themselves on, yeah, we're big, rich, and we've won this, but we came from the bottom to get there. No handouts, no help. Go and check the history. They said it really, really deeply, bro. Did you catch their comments this morning?
Yeah, so I was my little one, she decided to wake up roughly around the time United were playing. So I ended up watching the game. Yes, I remember the Roshi signing as well. But I ended up watching the game, and the commentary didn't talk about what was happening on the field. They were talking about this the whole time. And Gary Neville hit the nail on the head. To do it now and to do it like this, it is, and even as an Inter fan, initially I was a bit held back. But my motto is don't talk unless you know what you're talking about. So I did my research, I investigated, and you have to just look at timing, and nothing's a coincidence. They didn't do it 24 hours before UEFA was going to announce their changed Champions League's ideas by coincidence, right? So it's going to be interesting. And look, Ultras' reactions, I don't think Ultras know how to react. I don't know if they know how to react, because I don't think
they're not a relevant variable in this discussion, bro. For the first time in a long time, their voice actually means jack shit.
Yeah, but but not just that. I don't know if they know if it's good or bad for the club.
Yo,
I don't know if like, for instance, the Inter Ultras, I don't know if they know, well, is this good for Inter? Like, they're scratching their head. Everyone. My whole social media today is everyone scratching their head asking, is it good for Inter? Is it bad for Inter? Is it what's happening? And yet season ticket holders can say they'll be suing. It makes no sense to sue. You're still going to be seeing your club. There is nothing happening. And yeah, definitely I agree on that. But like Tim did mention 2 comments ago, yeah, it's not fair to teams like Roma, Atalanta, Napoli, but these teams that stepped up and wanted to step up, we're going to find out a lot more details in the coming weeks. We don't know who was approached and said no. We don't know if Roma was approached and they said, oh, no, we don't want to be a part of it. And there is 5 invitational spots. So is one spot going to be allocated to each league? Who knows? But
yeah.
Wasami
says, how's that for a model shot as a DP as well? Good stuff. As a Manchester United supporter, knowing they were the leaders of this movement along with Perez, it makes me sick. But, bro, like, what? At the end of the day, man, your Manchester Uniteds, Juventuses, your Madrids, these are the heavyweight real powers of the footballing world, man. At the end of the day, you've got muscle flexors and financial flexors like your Cities and your PSGs moving in and doing even worse and more work than they are. But these guys have their historical traditions and their club stature to back them up. It's pure evil right at its core, bro.
They're the Rothschilds and Rockefellers of the footballing world. Yeah. They're the people in the background no one knows about pulling the strings. But again, as fans, and as you can see, Wasami there, they did this. It's not fair. It makes me sick. Blah blah blah. You don't know if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. And I think that's what everyone's worried about at the moment, being unsure, being, well, shit, this just happened out of the blue. They just sprung it on us. Is this a good thing for Inter? Is this a bad thing? I don't know. You know, and I don't think anyone knows. And let's just put it like this, right? And you said you're not a business-minded person, Ant, and all of that. But if I was coming to you and said to you, the top 15 richest people in the world all went and bought this, would you think they've made the right decision? Right? The top 15 biggest clubs in Europe all went and signed on the dotted line for something. Yeah. Well, they know something we don't know yet, clearly.
100%.
And that information is only going to come out shortly. And when it does, we'll have definitely have another video for you guys. But yeah, let us know. What do you guys think? You know, don't just let us know in the comments. Let us know in you know what? Let us know, guys. What do you think of this European Super League? This Super League. What do you think it means for Inter? What do you think it means for the Serie A? Let us know in the comments. And clip this section of the video. We'll post it on Facebook. We'll get everyone's input because this isn't just out there for the Inter fans. This is out there for football fans in general. What do you guys think?
Yeah, bro. It's the biggest news. And I'm catching a bit of an echo on your end. I'm not too sure why, but that's all right. Oh, it's gone now because we are about to finish up. But first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined in the chat. That was a really, really good chat, and the way that you guys were discussing with one another was awesome because Bruno was filling us in pretty well. There's 22 people here right now, so make sure you hit a like on the video before you leave. Let us know what you think of the new looking sort of trim in the background. We can keep changing that up as well. But Bruno, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a much more leveled sort of opinion and a more leveled, optimistic sort of opinion, rather than if I was to just get on here after work and just go, you know how I am.
Look, guys, always a pleasure appearing alongside you, Anthony. But yeah, look, as soon as we find out anything here at Interworldwide, we'll be sure to be posting it on our socials. So give us a like, give us a subscribe, keep up to date on our Twitter, because as soon as we find out anything, we'll be sure to let you guys know.
Awesome. All right, from everyone here at Interworldwide, Forza Inter, ciao ragazzi.